Here's what you need to know before selecting your next strain to grow. But before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want stronger, healthier plants, if you want bigger roots for better fruits, you gotta check out Real Growers Recharge. It's like an instant compost tea that holds more nutrients at your root zone, breaks those nutrients down, and makes them more plant available, getting more of your nutrients into your plants. Find out more about Recharge over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Okay, Hi C, you know I'm a clone guy, right?
I know you're a clone-only guy.
Yes, and let's just talk about the advantages. They're very clear. When you get a clone, you know exactly what you're going to get. For me, it's passed on by a friend, and they say, hey, look, this is going to be short, it's going to be tall, it's going to take this long to flower, and man, that does make life easy.
Yeah, so when it comes to selecting your strain, if you go for a clone, you're pretty much guaranteed to know what you're going to get. How long is it going to take to flower?
Yes.
How long? Okay, but for seeds, you're saying seeds are getting pretty stable as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's different, they little code on the end of seeds that can tell you what to expect. The F1, as that number keeps on going up, F5, F6, that's stable. You're going to get something that very much represents what you purchased, what you were expecting.
Okay, and so I guess in the seed game, there's some people that want to know, hey, if I select this strain, I want to know what I'm going to get.
Sure.
But then there's also people that love the kind of adventure of finding new stuff.
Yeah, that's what they call it, a pheno hunt. That's what they call them, unicorns. But it depends. If you're looking for a unicorn, you want to do, it's quite different than if you're looking for something stable. I'm looking for something stable. I want to know what I got. I want to know where to put it in my grow, how long to veg it, all that kind of stuff, when I'm going to be able to remove it and put something else in its place.
And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today is picking out the right type of strain for your next grow.
Yes. And you have to pardon my voice. I have been partying at the DGC Cup all week, so I'm just getting it back.
It's all good. Maybe there's a strain for that.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, and maybe I'm not the most educated grower, but the first thing that I think of in picking out what strain I'm going to grow is how it's going to affect me and medicinally.
Sure.
And just the type of stoniness that I'm going to get.
And when we say medicinally, I mean, I'm going to use that in a wide range of, hey, I'm tired. Let me do something that's going to get me some energy. Hey, I've been trying to eat less. Let me smoke a strain that's going to suppress my appetite. One that'll make me tired. Stuff like that. So it's not we're saving your life with cancer treatment here. We're trying to maybe just get you up off the couch, get you to eat or not eat so much. So that's what I think medicinal benefit is.
So two things that come to mind. I remember sativa is the energetic one. Indica gets you put into couch.
Sure. And now that's fine when sativas only came from Mexico or South Africa, Central America, and indicas came from the Kush Mountains of India. That's all been hybridized. They've taken all those. There's very few of those true land race varieties out there. From what I've seen, they're all hybridized, and it's giving you these unique effects.
Okay, and then the other thing that kind of caught me off guard right there is you said appetite suppressant.
Sure.
I've never got anything but the munchies, so appetite increaser. But you're saying that some strains have appetite suppressant qualities?
Yeah, I mean, they're finding cannabis, I think it's 6 of the 7 continents. I won't be surprised if they find it on Antarctica. Look, try to say that. Antarctica. But yes, and all these have different combinations of terpenes and cannabinoids. Terpenes are the things that give it its flavor and its smell, the pinene, the linalool, the limonene, the ones that are lemony and piney and spicy and all those things. Those are the terpenes. And then there's cannabinoids. And by the way, we've only been studying these for the past few years. That's a really awesome thing about legalization. But cannabinoids, we used to have, all we thought of was THC. Then we found there was CBD. Now there's CBG and CBN. Some of them are good for appetite stimulation. Some of them are good for sleep. Some of them give you energy. Some of them are anti-anxiety. So it's really neat. And when you combine those terpenes with those cannabinoids, you get this entourage effect. You get a very unique effect. And that's why all these strains and all these phenotypes of all these strains hit you differently.
All right, so real quick shout out to friend of the show,
Sure.
JR Token. I asked you, hey, which strains are known for what medicinal? And we reached out to him, and he's a wealth of knowledge, and he hit us up with this list that we're going to go through.
He's been using cannabis for pain relief for the last 20 years, and he really is up on all the strains. He's a cancer survivor. He was a great resource, a great asset to go ask about this. He's also a virtual strain library.
That's true. All right, so according to JR, and he definitely should know, what are the two that he recommended for sleepy time?
Well, you know, we recommended a classic, which is Northern Lights, which when we talk about the cannabinoids and the terpenes, has myrcene in it. Myrcene is known to relax and be sedative. So that would make sense. And Purple Punch, I don't know much about Purple Punch, but I trust JR if he says it's sedative.
Okay, so what about pain? If you're looking to grow a strain to deal with pain management, what was his recommendation?
You know what? This one made the rounds in our community, but Harlequin. Harlequin's a CBD strain, or at least it's rich in CBD. And yeah, it's a really effective pain reliever. A lot of guys in the crew have used Harlequin in the past.
And that's a pretty classic strain, right?
Yeah, it's been around for years.
But he also recommended one that's kind of a newer strain.
Skittles. And
It's pronounced with a Z at the
I
beginning.
guess so. I don't. What do you want to get sued, man? I actually am growing some Skittles right now, and known for its pain relief properties and fruity flavor. It better be. But JR uses it for managing chronic pain, and that's why I have some of those varieties that he sent me.
And he recommended a couple for appetite, increased appetite if you're having trouble with your appetite.
And this is their specific cannabinoids and specific terpenes that will work together to stimulate your appetite. So this is from JR directly. Pineapple Express, Gelato, Wedding Cake. There you go, man.
Oh, wedding cake was one of those ones where after I smoked it, I definitely wanted some wedding cake.
Ah, nice, man.
Okay, well, on the flip side, because I don't really like the stuff that knocks me out or makes me hungry. I love the stuff that gets my brain going, gets my energy up. Let's talk about a couple of strains he recommended for that.
Now, it's no coincidence these are sativa dominant. I mean, Durban Poison comes from South Africa, Durban, South Africa. Pure sativa, clear-headed, energetic high. Agreed. Agreed. Super Lemon Haze. A haze, okay? Burst of energy, man. Citrus, creativity, man. It's it's got all those.
I think right now the Super Lemon Haze is my favorite strain.
Really?
Yeah.
Wasn't that which was the one that made Ted? Super Silver Haze. Super Silver Haze. Yeah.
I'm not sure. All right, let's move on. Overall relaxation, and I like what he recommended for this one.
Here you go. Blue Dream. I'm reading his description. A balanced hybrid that offers relaxation without heavy sedation.
That's what I'm looking for.
You know, Blue Dream is such a good strain. I'll probably get in trouble for saying it because it's so played out. It's so 15 years ago.
But I know a lot of people that still swear by it. It's still their favorite strain.
Why do you think they named it that? They didn't name it Blue Crappy.
Right. What about this one? I've not had the pleasure to try yet. The next one that he recommended for overall relaxation.
Yeah, and this is called Cereal Milk. Now, JR is up in the Pacific Northwest. Some of these strains might be regional. Cereal Milk provides the balanced high, both relaxing and euphoric, with a unique flavor profile. JR should write for our catalog, huh?
I know, right? And you know what's funny is I can just taste it just from the name.
Cereal Milk.
Okay, so growing for the side effects,
Sure.
growing for the medicinal value
Yes.
is one major thing, but also there's other things to keep in mind when picking out your strain. Let's jump into that.
Growing for your grow space. Growing for the area you have. Do you have a 2x2x4 tent? You better grow something indica, short, and squat. If you've got a whole room and you're going to be growing, or if you're growing one plant in a 4x4 tent, you might want to have fun with a big giant sativa.
Well, also, you've got like a full room and you've got your lights where they can start low and you can raise them
Yep.
up. And so
Yep.
you can grow some stretchers
If I want to, yeah.
You want to, but you don't really like to.
Nah, I like to keep everything. The light is the energy. The farther up the plant stretches, the further away the light gets from the rest of the plant. So, yeah, I like to try to keep short, squat plants myself. Even if I have a really tall variety, I'll use training techniques and super cropping and that kind of stuff.
But knowing what your end result that you're going for based off of the area that you can grow in, and then picking your strain based off of what plant has that characteristic.
And even the area your plant's going to go in. I had my buddy had this Skywalker OG. I don't know. All I can tell you is it was hitting the ceiling. So that's why I was like, oh, it's Skywalker. I see. But he put it in the corner, and it did just fine. It leaned up against the wall and did just fine. So it also depends the placement in your room.
Okay, so this is something new to me. I heard this a lot at this weekend's DGC Cup is people talking about fast flowering plants.
Yes.
So apparently some plants flower not just based off of how you flip your lights, but some of them just naturally flower faster.
Yes, and by the way, you said fast flowering plants. You probably don't know this, but that is like you're loitering in the arena of Hot Topics because they've been crossing plants with autoflowers, photos with autoflowers. They call them fast flowering. They shave a few weeks off the flowering time. Let's not talk about those. I'm not I don't know much about those, and I'm not a particular fan of them. Just flowering times is what I would say. You can. Somebody handed me at the cup some Thai, and they go, this is a 22-week sativa. That means it has to flower for 22 weeks.
That's long.
That's 3 times what I flower mine for. 8 times 4, whatever times 3 is 24. I mean, I could get essentially 3 harvests in by the time that they harvested that 122 or whatever it was, week sativa Thai stick. So, yes, it absolutely matters. Now, granted, he was going for it. Shout out to your iDog. He wanted those. He's, old school head that wanted those old school terps. Great. And he adjusted his grow for it. For me, I want to get out of there in 9 weeks. I have a setup that plants have to be out of there in 9 weeks. So
you're doing the perpetual harvest.
Yeah. So when I select my strains or ask somebody, somebody wants to give me a cut, hey, when does that flower? How long does it take to flower? If it's more than 9 weeks, I don't want it.
And one thing that I also did hear come up at the cup a lot was we start talking about the cup a couple of months beforehand so that people can plan out how long is this going to flower, and is it going to flower and be cured by the time the cup comes around?
Yes, absolutely. And that guy did all right with his 22-week strain, but he started 6 months ago.
One last one, and this one kind of shocked me. We've got Maestro in town, and he was telling me his favorite plant only does popcorn buds. He says it looks like crap, but it produces some amazing cannabis. And so yield, sometimes you're looking for big yielders, sometimes the yield isn't as important. Let me know how this impacts what you pick out to grow.
I have this analogy on the fly, but I'm thinking of beer. When you're 15 years old and somebody brings you an old Milwaukee or Milwaukee's best beer, you're like, oh, that's great, Once you can go buy beer by yourself, it's not all that exciting. I can buy beer. I don't need to buy a 24-pack. So the idea is that we're not selling cannabis. We're using it, and we're using it medicinally. We're sharing it with our friends. I don't need pounds of cannabis coming out every month. I need enough to be able to use medicinally and share with my friends. So if I get something that I just absolutely love the flavor of, or before I go mountain biking, this is the strain that just gets me to want to ride up that hill, then I don't need to worry about, is it a heavy yielder? Is it a light yielder? Am I going to make my money back on it? That's not my motivation and most people's motivations anymore.
Yeah, it used to be everybody grew with weight in mind.
2 pounds of light. If it doesn't hit 2 pounds of light, I don't want it.
Right, but that's not really the way it is now.
No, now it's about showing off. Now it's about showing up at your buddy's place and not bringing old Milwaukee to the party. Bringing something really unique. But those are the things I consider before putting a new plant in my grow. But what about y'all? What do you consider before putting the next strain into your garden? Let me know in the comments. And if you dug this video, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending. I hope you like them.